Let's go. This is an absolutely heinous undertaking. I don't know how many figures I went through for the previous exclusive roundup, but this one has, count it, 20. I'm going to be talking about 20 figures today. Now, two things straight off the bat is, one, nearly everything on this table, if not everything on this table, is either a repaint or a retool, so that makes life easier. Second of all, everything on this table was either part of a set or part of a group, so I'm not doing the wheel this time. Instead, we're going to take it group by group. We're going to take each group and break it down into the core components and talk about each one. So that should make life a little bit more straightforward for me, because this is fucking terrifying. So without much further delay, let's get started on something that I've previously covered on the channel, but let's just get it out of the way in this video anyway. Yeah, the Fractured Friendship 2-pack in over 60 seconds, let's go. This one will be brief, as I said, I already did a video on these two. It was a bit long-winded, a bit boring, it was mostly just gushing over the absolute state of this beautiful motherfucker, but he's alright as well. As you can see, this is the version of Megatron built from the drill, which is a very unconvincing tank retool from the original Siege Megatron, whereas this is a retool of the Gamer Edition Optimus, and I'm not getting it for comparison because I can't be bothered, but wow, they did quite a good job on it, especially when you stop to consider they covered up the back. Massive props for that. And again, in robot mode, this Megatron is a nice idea, but unfortunately it's held back by being a retool of the Siege Megatron, but I am entirely about fucking around with Gladiator Megs. That's fun. But more importantly, I think the only reason anyone's going to be after this set is primarily just because of Orion Pax. I probably called him Optimus in that last segment. Fuck it. We followed a story with Orion Pax throughout the Legacy lineup, culminating with SS86 at the end of last year, and this guy feels like a natural part of that story in the middle. Orion the Twink can still fuck off though. Yeah, honestly, like, this is a very brief glance over. I'll be linking the video where I go into these two guys a bit more in depth. I just wanted to touch base on them here, but I didn't have too much more to add without cannibalizing that review. Anyway, let's get on to something new. Legacy United gave us the Mayhem Attack Squad, and if that name's wrong, don't worry, the correct version will be on screen, so all of you jumping at the chance to correct me in the comments don't need to. This was like a series of 2-packs featuring a core class figure in one of them, and it's just covering some of the most random and obscure stuff. There is some random unification with this symbol throughout some of these. You might see it, you might not. I'm probably not going to draw attention to it because ultimately all of these are either repaints or extensive retools of previously existing figures. Without much further delay, let's get started. G1 Windsweeper in over 60 seconds, let's go. You already saw most of this guy during the Tidal Wave review, so this shouldn't be too long. As you can see in this jet mode, he is a repaint of Needlenose, and that's about it. Predominant colours have been changed into a sort of off-red, a kind of beigey kind of colour, with painted highlights throughout the wings of bluey purple and silver and yellow, and I'm really bad at describing colours. We also have the obligatory shit weapon storage of the underarms, which we'll go ahead and get those out the way. Those are wings, not fucking arms. And yeah, like Needlenose the year before, he doesn't really offer much, at least not in this jet mode. It's not the most aerodynamic thing. The detailing is nice, it's just a shame about the kibble management, genuinely. Don't have anything else to add. Yellow cockpit. Nah, fuck it, let's go for robot. I must admit, if you told me in the age of Legacy United's multiversal shit that we were going to get a retool of Needlenose, I'd have expected Armada Thrust. But that didn't fucking happen, and instead we got Windsweeper, who is one of the trigger master target con thingies from G1. Like, this stuff's buried in here, but the brain-eating parasite saying no. So yeah, what else is there to say about him? Well, he's got this new head sculpt that is completely different to Needlenose's more chivalrous knight looking thing. And honestly, to me, that just looks like a late 80s G1 Decepticon. I can't deny it. It looks like he's definitely brewing something in there, and I don't mean in the upper half of the body. May I recommend Taco Bell? That'll ease it out. Also, staggeringly, he comes with all silver repaints of the accessories that come with Needlenose, but surprisingly, the ones that come with Quake are actually apparently all new molds. Who knew? Honestly, in these colours, this is probably the best they've looked, and it's one thing that I really appreciate about this late wave exclusive kind of business is you've already got the mold, so they can afford to have a bit more fun by giving out chrome-plated fucking hand cannons. I'm about it. I also would have taken a deluxe class repaint of Armada Ramjet to go with a certain someone else, but you know what? It's fine. Ultimately, Windsweeper is fine, and of the 2-pack that he came in, he's the highlight, because unfortunately of that 2-pack, the low point is Prime breakdown in over 60 seconds. Let's go. It annoys me because initially I was so excited at the prospect of Prime breakdown. We'll get more into why shortly, but for now, what a fucking disappointment. I'll take full blame for this, but for some reason he's not resting on all 6 wheels at the same time, and I don't know why. Every attempt I make to try and amend it does not work. Color scheme wise, this guy looks amazing. The various shades of blue kind of coming together to form the whole works. Him being a fucking repaint of Bulkhead does not. It's actually fascinating that that Bulkhead mold was created to serve as Bulkhead. Couldn't do it. So they decided to use it as Breakdown. Couldn't do it. Fuck, I can't believe that. I guess Heatwave's the most successful use of that mold. No, I can't do it. I'd say it rolls, but it barely does. This thing is just sort of showing up at this point. You can remove this tarp on the back, which isn't properly plugged in if I recall correctly. And let's just get to the robot mode with this. Normally I aim to get the negatives out of the way first so I can talk purely about the positives. But I have more negative experiences regarding this figure, so let's get the positives out of the way. First of all, I appreciate them coming out with a breakdown because it gives a little bit more context to Knockout, who we covered a couple of years back when he debuted in 2022. Sadly, however, Knockout has fairly stood the test of time no matter what some people may tell you, whereas Breakdown never even got off the fucking tarmac. By this point, the mold's beginning to degrade slightly, so the arm is very loose in its connection. It takes nothing. Like, you can see it, there you go. Whereas if I do it on this one, the rest of the figure moves. Speaks for itself. I like the head sculpt. The head sculpt's nice. It's not the most amazing of the Prime Renaissance, that's the wrong word, of the Prime Resurgence head sculpt, but it's fine for what it is. The rest of the robot mode is not fine for what it is because this is just fucking Bulkhead again. I stood up for that Bulkhead reasonably well, but this, I just... Why you gotta do this to me, Joe? It's fucking lazy. He retains both of the accessories that come with Bulkhead. I don't know where the gun is. I haven't seen it in a fucking hot minute. It was... I found the gun. But then there's also a new addition in regards to the Wrecking Ball mace hand fisting accessory in the form of Breakdown's hammer, which I suppose was a thing. I don't really remember Prime all that well. Also, this shoulder is loose. Also, I politely ask that you do not forget the Riot Shield, formed from the tarp in the alt mode, but with a twist. Somehow the fucking 5mm port has been mounted the wrong way, the retractable one, so I can't get it to go the normal way, I don't think. Or maybe the other way was wrong. You know, now I'm not so sure, because now I see all the sculpted detail coming out, whereas on the Bulkhead one, it never did. But he still doesn't redeem this figure in my eyes. I know Needlenose was a really good figure when it came out, and to be fair, it still kind of is. But when the highlight of your set is some nobody from the late 80s repainted from that figure, as opposed to a character who is, by all accounts, from the more fan-acclaimed series, and I think he's quite a popular character as well. Yeah, no, Breakdown just don't hit the mark. He's fucking abysmal. And the worst part is I can't even get rid of it without thinking, well, I'm gonna have to get rid of Knockout now. I guess it's one of those where I like one of them, so I have to put up with the other. But the good news is the rest of the Mayhem attack squad is nothing but a vast improvement, such as Deluxe Insecticon Chop Shop in over 60 seconds. Let's go. Oh wow, look at this. A peak retool of my favourite Insecticon from Legacy so far. Somebody pinch me, I'm having a dream. No, not you. Get those fucking things away from me, you big beastie fuck. This is some sort of bug. I'm not a furry. I don't know my bugs, alright? Fuck you. And honestly, it's pretty good. Somehow this makes brown and orange work in a really good way. The weapon storage from the previous version of the mold, which I think was shrapnel, has since been demoted to on top to make room for new 5mm mounted leg accessories, which is honestly just, it's fucking beautiful, I'm not gonna lie. It fills out the silhouette of this guy in his bug mode so much better. Honestly, I think this might be my favourite Insecticon alt mode of the lot. Although granted, we know what Venom looks like now, so I'm curious to see how he's gonna stack up when he eventually appears. But for now that is the head sculpt of a Bugman. In robot mode, the profile from Shrapnel doesn't really change all that much, truth be told. He retains the same weapons that came with the original figure, so the loadout doesn't change dramatically much, which honestly, all things considered, is not completely a bad thing. As I said, these are mounted on 5mm ports, which is just one of my favourite accessory add-ons in the last little while. He does retain the mold issue of having the knees slightly bent, so if you have him at the wrong angle, he will just fall over. You can see there's a slight permanent bend towards the knee. It's fine. He's stable. This is honestly probably my favourite Insecticon release of the last 6. Like I said, I'm curious to see how Venom will play out when he eventually makes his appearance. But of these 6 that they've done based on 3 molds, yeah, they've reinvented the best one in a way that's just really fucking nice. But he's not the only one that come in this set. Deluxe Insecticon Barrage in over 60 seconds, let's go. Bombshell's latest release actually really disappointed me in a lot of ways, and the alt mode I don't think factored as much into it. But fuck me, this alt mode is just an improvement overall. The new shades of green, white and yellow throughout just make it pop that little bit more. As with the other member of this 2-pack, we have a new leg accessory just to, you know, fill in the extra gaps at the back. And this entire front assembly has been remolded into something completely new. Brad, I'm not 100% sure what we're looking at here, but fuck me, you know what? It works. I give it props for that, it works. And sadly, weapon storage is still not the priority of this figure, but you know what? It's fine. Because in robot mode, this man completely rectifies all my issues with Bombshell. A smaller, cleaner head sculpt that gives him a greater range of motion. No shit going on with a backpack. He retains the same slightly bent permanence, but it just doesn't feel as bad. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating the issue, or maybe you should shut. Like, by far, these two as just a pair of fucking goobers in a 2-pack is just one of the best set decisions in the last couple of years that I can think of off the top of my head, honestly. Combined with a new head brother that I never covered from Legacy Year 1 and the buzzworthy box sets they used to do, these 3 honestly just look fucking phenomenal together, and I'm really excited to get Venom in there as well. And here side by side with their original editions, you can kind of just see the point I'm going for. While yes, it turns out I am slightly over-exaggerating some of Bombshell's issues, a lot of him still pretty bad. Whatever this guy's name was in Shrapnel just looked like a really good pair, and that's still the best Insecticon mold. While Kickback and whatever this guy's name is are still surprisingly solid releases. I like the pair of them for what they are. And honestly, as we're talking about Insecticons, if the time ever comes to have an Insecticon clear out, these 3 and their Age of the Primes oriented friend will be staying. I'm sorry, like that's just how it is. I don't make the rules. But by far the funniest part about this set is there's actually lore to this beyond just, oh, it's 2 people from a different timeline. The lore in this is that they stole a magic hammer courtesy of Solus Prime. I could get Solus Prime in for this segment, but I really can't be bothered, I'm sorry. While Malleus Minotaurus comes with the traditional hammer accessory blast effect from Siege, which I can't find. Fuck it, let's do Dora the Explorer.
Can you see the hammer impact blast effect?
He also comes with his new blast effect designed to show the swing and physics and something or other, which is a neat accessory to have. And yeah, we get a repaint of the Siege Smashdown mold in grey with blue eyes and a really hard to focus on symbol of Solus Prime stamped on his forehead. I think this might be my favourite of the Mayhem Attack Squad packs just because this is unashamedly fun and goofy. I'm not much for inserting story elements into these multi-packs. Sometimes I might just do the one that makes sense. But when the storytelling is something that's just absurd, like this Home Alone looking sketch, then I'm all for it, absolutely. This is one of my favourite of the exclusives that we've had this year. It's just such a good set. And I know a few people that missed out on it, which I'm sorry. Hopefully you're able to get one. Because the Three Stooges over here are honestly just an absolutely fantastic set to have. G1 Ruckus in over 60 seconds, let's go. Imagine reinventing Beachcomber, a figure that I by all accounts said was good but was bland, and turning him into whatever delightfully late 80s nonsense the fuck this is. Yeah, Ruckus is a retool of Beachcomber, and the alt mode is a complete 180 from what it was originally. It's got windows now. I must admit there's something wonderfully toyish about this. It kind of reminds me of RC from Toy Story, and not the RC from Transformers. Go figure. He retains Beachcomber's lovely, not plastic tires, but instead some sort of rubber tire. Well, la-dee-da. Plus a lot of this detailing comes through in the alt mode, and it's just nice. Also, just to hammer home that he's really different to Beachcomber, this guy's got guns in his alt mode, so he can drive by, so he can fuck your day up. But do you know what won't fuck your day up? His wonderfully generic head sculpt, and also the fact that his weapons in alt mode also form shoulder-mounted weapons, so that's pretty cool. It kind of goes without saying that this guy just very much sort of captures the Beachcomber mold secondhand, but that he just does a couple more interesting things with it. For example, trying to bring back platform shoes. Didn't fucking work, but at least he tried. Unfortunately, you can't get a real good pose of him splaying the gun out because the wheel mounted on the shoulder just gets in the way. This backpack is egregiously big, where if I recall correctly on Beachcomber it didn't really exist. That's fine. Enjoy some text on screen about a paint app misapplication thanks to a miscommunication using a TF wiki animation error. I don't really know. Yeah, Ruckus. Pretty good. Pretty cool that he's part of a team as well. Also, just enjoy this shot of him aura farming for a few seconds while I get the next figure up and ready. Stormbringer Bludgeon in over 60 seconds, let's go. This is probably my favourite figure from the Mayhem attack squad. Full spoilers, yada yada. Now with this Bludgeon mould, this is our 4th version, 3rd version, depending when it come out, and they haven't really changed much. You can see some new sculpt work going on here, but that's more relevant in robot mode. There was discussion about changing the tank to have more of an actual tank barrel at the top instead of this Fall of Cybertron inspired looking thing. But unfortunately it never got realised due to budget cuts. But here's an approximation of what that could look like. And by approximation I mean the absolute loosest approximation you could ever have, to the point that this is worthless. Hopefully there's an actual graphic on screen showing what they were gonna do. Also, sword storage is still bad, but you know what isn't bad? Stormbringer Bludgeon in his robot mode. Now keeping in line with what they were discussing, I'm just gonna have the one barrel here for personal preference, which means you can fuck off, lad. And honestly, yeah, what can I say about this guy? This looks like a prison jumpsuit for someone who tries to escape. Like, genuinely Google it, prison escapee jumpsuit. This is what it looks like. Also, you can see here the new chest plate that I was discussing earlier, but this is where it's actually relevant. After using the same one 3 times over in the past, we've got a new one. Pretty cool. Also, where the other Tarn, that we'll be getting to shortly, doesn't really do much with the head sculpt, this one gives Bludgeon a new head sculpt, and he just looks like an ood, or he's got a mouthful of noodles that he's currently vomiting up, who knows. He retains the sword accessory, which is always welcome, because I like this sword. I think it's really good. As a matter of fact, I think with this new look, it gives Bludgeon an entirely different dimension, as opposed to, say, just being a straight repaint of that original. And as someone who was a big fan of the original Bludgeon, yeah, I think this one actually does the job slightly better, if not just on par with him. Fuck it, let's do a comparison. I'm feeling generous today. There are genuinely people in this world that call me a fool for saying this is better than Tarn, but honestly, this just slaps so much fucking more, especially now there's 2 different styles of Bludgeon to choose from, as opposed to Tarn and We Live in a Society Tarn, but we'll be getting to him very shortly, trust me. Honestly, if I liked Ruckus that little bit more, this would probably be the best of the Mayhem attack squad, but as it stands, it's still pretty good. And giving me a Voyager that isn't a colossal fuck up like the other Voyager from this little grouping is always a plus. Yeah, honestly, if I had to rank these 2 packs as it went, this would probably be squarely in the middle, if not close to the top, while the Insecticons would comfortably take the top spot. Oh, that's cute, they're matching. Before we finally get to the remaining outlier, where Windsweeper is actually quite nice, and Breakdown can fuck off. This is one of 2 little capsule sets they did for Legacy United, and there's a reason this isn't my favourite one, but we'll get to that shortly. Whereas now we're going to talk about the Cliffjumper Dies pack. This was all repaints with some new heads in a couple of places, and there is core component missing from this set that I will not be talking about in this video. Beast Wars Tarantulas in over 60 seconds, let's go. Or more accurately, Prototype Tarantulas. Or more accurately, Cheeto Spider, because this thing's fucking disgustingly orange. Tell you what though, the silver eyes work. Yes, this is a repaint of Legacy Tarantulas from year 1, which was a really fucking good figure at the time, and it still is now. There is a better way of doing weapon storage, but I can't for the life of me remember what it is right now. I think something slots up in here. It doesn't matter, I purely only transformed this just for this review. He'll be going back to robot mode with my other Beast Wars repaint shortly. A perk of being a Tarantulas repaint, he does have these, which have some articulation, but just in the wrong fucking direction, which is always good. Also, we have half ball jointed legs, so these can move about somewhat independently, but not totally. Also, it kind of blends in, but you can see there is some detailing in there, which I think is done in gold versus orange, so you don't really see it all that well. Also, I don't know if Tarantulas, and this might be a stupid comment, is actually based on a specific species of spider, but it looks almost prehistoric. It doesn't look like a modern spider in any way. And now it looks like it rightfully met my shoe at 2 in the morning when it decided to fall in my bed. But by far the funniest thing about this figure is just the robot mode straight up looks like Doom Guy. Like, tell me that doesn't just look like the fucking Doom Guy. Come on. Like, it's right fucking there in the helmet. He's even got a crossbow and a hacksaw. Come on, don't leave me hanging here. You can see this. Yeah, anyway, it's a straight repaint of the Tarantulas figure now in orange, now with green highlights throughout the figure, a new head sculpt, and that's about it, to be fair. Everything else sort of just remains the same. The backpack, while well coordinated, is still a backpack. The legs are mildly annoying when it comes to pose and display, but that's it. It's Tarantulas in Tic Tac colours. I don't have anything else to add. Tarantulas is a good figure, all things considered. He's probably one of the best Predacons. Whereas this one makes a wonderful generic. Generics. Speaking of which, Cyberverse Tarn in over 60 seconds. Let's go. I gotta be honest with you right now, this tank mode actually does fuck a lot more. Thanks to different and competing shades of purple, navy, maroon, red, black, all sorts of stuff all going on in this tank mode, it just looks more well-rounded than the original Legacy one. I don't even dislike the Legacy one that much in tank mode, it's just this one does it a lot better, it's more interesting to look at. Tell me the color palette around this front of the tank, or this back of the tank, well, I suppose that just makes the whole tank, doesn't pop better. You can't, you know I'm right. But this is also a funny figure because of the robot mode. Somehow I'm 2 for 2 on bludgeons that have really good tolerances, but Tarns, no. And I'll give this one nothing but all the praise in the world for probably the best paint application on this cowcatcher piece and the chest assembly and all that. But what the fuck have they done to his face? I really like the application on the purple, don't get me wrong. And the application of red paint in the vents is really fucking good. But what the fuck is up with this Heath Ledger we live in a society smirk painted across the face? I think it's supposed to be like the light coming out from under it, you know, the red light, which is also present in his light pipe. That I'm struggling to get a decent shot of because I am incompetent and I forgot to bring my torch for this shoot. But that fucking smirk is just too much. Now, as this is a rendition of Tarn, the idea is you keep the weapon in the same place, as far as I'm aware. I could be totally wrong. You know, he likes his big knockoff fusion cannon. And he also comes with a repaint, or should I say an entirely new coloured version of the sword, now cast in the same purple as the rest of the figure. And this is pretty good, and apparently is more in line with the generics of Cyberverse. I haven't seen Cyberverse. But there is one slight issue with this. If this was intended to be Tarn, then he's supposed to look like this. Does anyone else smell the potential for a Rack and Ruin custom here? Fucking. Honestly, I don't hate this Tarn. Some days I like it more than the original. Some days I like it less. For the most part, it just lives with my other Cyberverse legacy stuff. And he's fine. They're fuck all compared to Bludgeon, but Tarn is fine. I'm just an uncertified hater, so if you could get my certificate in the post, I'd appreciate that. You can get that by liking and subscribing and by checking out WielderMedia on Patreon. Prime Cliffjumper in over 60 seconds, let's go. Continuing the theme of repaints in this box set, we have a repaint of Rescue Bot's Chase into Prime Cliffjumper in one that surprisingly works. Fuck you, long time. They teased this repaint for a long time, and I don't know how accurate Chase is to the original Rescue Bot's design, but I'm curious if this was ever in mind in that design process. God, the front of this car just looks so good. The fucking bullhorns on the Prime Cliffjumper car mode is always just absolutely wonderful. Competent wheels, and they actually don't roll. How fucking shit is that? The exhaust ports, the mini Autobot symbol that for some reason was a Decepticon symbol in some of the renders, I think. Just a fucking solid car mode. Peak vehicle. Let me be inside of it. And this robot mode retains a lot of the quirks that Chase had. Like, a fucking lot of them. Down to the excess kibble of car parts forming weird wings on the back. And reverse ankle tilts thanks to the transformation. But honestly, it's fine, who cares? He's a new boy. The new head sculpt that I think just works wonderfully, and I'm very keen to see if we'll ever get a dead one. Although I know there's leaks of a Prime Cliffjumper due in Age of the Prime, so this is a good way to get your hands on this one, because this is probably the highlight of this pack. Accessory-wise, he retains the same accessories that Chase had come with. So he's got these little licht things that attach on the forearm for some obscure reason. He also has that weird claw accessory that Chase come with, but I find it works better if you remove the claws, as nature intended, and instead use it as an approximation of his integrated gun from the show. As you can see. Wonderful. Yeah, honestly, Cliffjumper is probably the highlight of the Cliffjumper Dies multi-pack, because why wouldn't he be? He's a really good new head repaint of a fairly solid mold, whereas the other two, while also being solid molds, are just meh in comparison. Plus, I think comparing him to the Annals of Cliffjumper, where you've got the Earthrise one and the Gamer Edition one, comparatively, this particular take on Cliffjumper fucks them both to death. I highly recommend. And now we come to the personal highlight of the exclusives for me. Similar to when Shattered Glass got a new lease of life thanks to Gen Selects, the Star Raiders get a resurgence thanks to Legacy United. This particular group of individuals is made up of repaints and remolds of varying degrees, and honestly, without getting too bogged down, I think it's probably one of my favorite exclusive capsules of the last few years, just all in all. Some of these are going to be quicker than others, so why don't we just get the shit out of the way now? Star Raider Road Pig in over 60 seconds, let's go. Road Pig as a member of the group was really weird because Road Pig appeared so much later than everyone else for some weird reason. Like, I'm being serious, they did 2 separate waves of this subcapsule, and the second half is so much worse. I believe Road Pig is intended to be a G2 character, as you can tell by this absolutely beautiful gold printed faction symbol. Honestly, the overall color palette on Road Pig is beautiful. Gold and red and black and silver. Just solid. A very solid repaint of the Junkion mold. And I'm not going to lie, that kind of pisses me off a little bit. I'm all for tacky G2 representation, abso-fucking-lutely. But I know no one who runs around with a tattoo that says human, let alone any pirates that do it. Actually, I don't know any pirates. I need to amend that immediately. But seriously, the Road Pig's alt mode is just fucking beautiful. I love looking at it. Though unfortunately, the robot mode very much gives me that same feeling of this guy to Crash Bar as Road Rocket to Prime RC, and complete with a head sculpt to finish off that analogy. I kind of just don't care. It's like, this is the weakest of a decent bunch, and I don't hate this inherently, but I also just don't love it. It's very much just kind of generic in the background, unfortunately. Though thankfully this new head sculpt does not elicit recognition of a disgraced YouTuber. Everything else remains the same. Posability is intact. The weapons loadout and accessories remain the same. The ability to fall apart under pressure remains unchanged. Completely fine figure. I only got Road Pig to complete the set. Star Raider Thundertron in over 60 seconds, let's go. Or I mean maybe, because I imagine this will be a relatively short segment. At least the alt mode will be a short segment, because they haven't really changed much with this. You can see some stronger white, blue, and gold coming through, as opposed to the other one where the kind of are a bit more muddled and a bit more muted. Looks good, and I can't really think of anything I forgot to cover on the previous Lion mode. So let's instead talk about this guy where it counts. The robot mode really shows off a lot more of the differences between this and the mass retail edition, such as an occupational hazard when wiping your ass. Have you ever tried to do a prostate exam with a coat hanger before? Then this will all be new to you. Also, this one features a new head sculpt with a more traditional kind of beard, and on first inspection I never realised he actually has a moulded eye patch detail. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but you can see this eye is unpainted. And you can see various little dents, rivet dents, where they've obviously bolted something to cover the eye, which is a really cool detail, giving him that more traditional pirate look. Actually, I think the entirety of the head has been changed. He's now got new molded hair above. He's got this front bit coming up the top, similar to a hat. And that's honestly about where it changes for this guy. And I can't remember if I showed it, but here's his peg leg. Honestly, I kind of much prefer this one to the mass retail one, but I like to keep them both. That one gets to be Prime Thundertron and live with my Prime figures, whereas this guy gets to sail the 7 seas, plundering booty and shagging bitches. And also, he gets a little friend in this particular release. Thanks to 2 inserts that have existed on that shoulder piece since the mass retail release, he now gets a little parrot accessory in the form of this guy, whatever his name is now on screen, who also doubles up as the flag of the Star Raiders, apparently. I did get some stick in the comments for saying he's mistransformed because I don't have the wings splayed out like this. How many times do you see a pirate walking around with a parrot walking around with its arms stretched out like this, saying, "Come at me, bro"? You don't. Star Raider Calcitron in over 60 seconds. Let's go. Regarding the Rock Boys of Legacy United, from the off, I said absolutely not. Junkions is cool, and skeletal dinosaurs, sure, whatever. I don't need another subline of these where they're not going to do much with it, and there's no point getting invested. Especially where it's now rock vehicles for some bizarre reason. I'm not calling them bad, I just don't get the point of them. Ultimately, I can't avoid it though, as this set, yes, in fact, does also contain the deluxe class Calcitron, a repaint of that original one, or a retool, I don't really care. I kind of admire a lot of what it does with this wacky ass Flintstones aesthetic. The various shades of blue give it that really perfect glacial look. Like, I could imagine this in a Bionicle game, or a Bionicle crossover, where this is from, is it Komata? Kometru? The fucking Arctic Circle of the Bionicle universe, that one. Where my boy Kopaka when I need him. But anyway, yeah, this is just one of the most absurd alt modes I've seen in a while. I kind of fuck with it as a one-off. Maybe Sharp would have been a good helicopter, I don't know. I'm running out of zoom here. Let's talk about the robot. This guy gives me favourable flashbacks of the trolls from The Witcher. That's good. However, the tolerances on the 5mm ports are far from the strongest at this point in time. That's bad. But the detailing that this guy brings to life is actually just really fucking good. I like a lot of what they're doing with him. That's good. However, you're still not going to compel me to buy the other ones, I don't think, unless I can get them for dirt fucking cheap. That's bad. You honestly, I like this guy as just an oddity in the collection, being the only rock boy, because it kind of gives the Star Raiders this feel that they went to an out-of-bounds area in the game with lore beyond the invisible barrier at the end of the world and took someone from that group to travel with them. Aren't you playing Skyrim and the Sijic monks turn up? Who are they? What are they doing? Who cares? They're now rock boys. Also, I have to admire the audacity of using the roof of the car as a literal shield. That's a stupid kind of fun that just works with this kind of figure. Admittedly, it's a shame that there's no real way to mount it without you turning the wrist, but that's whatever. He's just very loose. That's all I can say about him. Yeah, call me a cynical old bastard, but that seems to be about as far as it goes. Like, what is really the point? Fuck it, let's talk about some good stuff. Star Raider lockdown in over 60 seconds. Let's go. Christ, I remember when this guy first leaked, a lot of the speculation was on, is this guy going to be a repaint of Axle Grease or Chase? Cliffjumper got Chase, this guy got Axle Grease. Honestly, in this mode, it really works. He retains that sick and nasty engine block, the spiky aesthetic, the bars over the windows, and the smokestacks at the back. Honestly, it all kind of works. I see now why they included a hook with Axle Grease, if this was the plan all along. I quite like it, truth be told. Especially this weird DeLorean-ass backdrop to the rest of the car. I think it suits. I'm aware the smokestacks aren't supposed to go there in the alt mode, but I just kind of prefer just to leave them there, because that's where they're going to end up in the robot mode anyway. Color palette's insanely nice. Detailing's insanely nice. Is the robot mode insanely nice? It's nice. Not insanely nice, but still nice. Featuring a remake of the Revenge of the Fallen lockdown head sculpt, this man just looks like he means business. It's a shame it's missing the 20 ball joints that previous one had, but hey-oh, you can't have it all. This robot mode is unmistakably lockdown. I originally used that Revenge of the Fallen one as my G1 lockdown, so this works as a multiversal Star Raider lockdown. The greens breaking up everything else is really good. There's a Decepticon symbol you can't quite make out thanks to my inferior use of technology in the center of the chest. The engine blocks do come off to form guns, but I can't be bothered doing it because he in fact retains Axle Grease's arm-mounted weaponry, which still has the same flaws as it did previously. I'm not quite sure what this slant is about, and I don't want to know anything about it, but thankfully we're going to get rid of this one because there's something interesting here. The other one is painted with a gold finish around the barrel and just throughout the weapon itself, which is nice, but one other thing I like about it is it completes a really distinct look to the hook when you add it onto this. It feels like an extension of the figure, but also an artificial extension of the figure, if that makes sense, which by all accounts just suits Lockdown to a T. By all accounts, I will admit he is missing all the traits to make him a legacy animated Lockdown, so he's just kind of this weird, obscure, abstract version of the character. But as a counterpoint to that, he is Lockdown, so he is inherently cool as fuck. I know some people that only went in on Lockdown out of the rest of the set, and I can understand why. This guy is a very solid figure for everything intended. He's also a weaponizer, but I'm not breaking him apart because I don't care. And yeah, he's just a solid all-round release. I really like him. I like a lot of what he does. He is objectively missing that stature that the other ones have, but I very much think he could hold his own against an Optimus Prime or anyone else in this iteration of things. But I will take a new Age of Extinction lockdown if you decide to redo Studio Series figures. But that's not part of this conversation. This conversation is now instead about Star Raider Filch in over 60 seconds, let's go. Yet again, another Air Razor retool, but I have to be brutally honest, I think this one's my favourite. After you're done imagining the visions of the Kingdom 1, Terror Soar, the Rise of the Beast 1, we finally get to Filch, my beloved. I'm inclined to say most of the figure is new from here, but I could be wrong. The wings are definitely an all-new take, with 5mm posts filling in these extensions to the wings. Unfortunately, there's no real way to flap them inwards, but you can wrap them around a little bit, which is a nice bit of articulation that the original was lacking. Also, this head sculpt suggests that Polly, in fact, does not want a cracker, but instead wants ethnic cleansing. Yeah, that's all there is to really say about this particular version of the mold. The wings are different, the head's different. The color scheme and detailing are sick as fuck. But what about the robot? Honestly, this just works for me. As far as I'm concerned, Air Razor is one of the best molds to have come out of Kingdom, so I see why they keep reusing it. I completely get it. And to cast it as a character from Robots in Disguise 2015, at least I'm assuming, going by that face sculpt and the fact that this is an animal, along with the 5mm accessories of the wings, is just a really nice addition to this particular mold. As said, these extensions are on 5mm posts, so you can have them mounted on the arms as flashes, or you could have them underslung as some sort of blade accessory, or you could just leave them on the wings and they'll do their own thing. The sky's the limit with Filch's weapon storage, provided the sky is limited at leaving it on the wings or on the arms, or handheld. Well, I guess that kind of works. Maybe with a bit of finessing, you can make leg storage work for these accessories. And a relatively clean back profile. Yeah, there's still some wingage, but she turns into a bird. What the fuck do you expect? Honestly, of the Star Raiders lineup, I think Filch is my biggest surprise. I like this mold anyway. I know nothing about the show that she comes from. And yeah, with that freaky arachnid-esque head, this just works for me on a level. She makes a neat little addition to this motley crew of random weirdos sailing the high seas and making poor handheld camera copies of movies from the back of the theatre. Star Raider Cannonball in over 60 seconds, let's go. Here we have the final evolution of the Skids mold, and how does it fare? Holy fuck, they saved this thing. They did Crankcase / Medics a while back, and that one was okay, but this one just fixes all the wrongs with this mold. Complete with the Vok for some really weird, cool fucking reason. Cannonball was originally a repaint of an old Cybertron figure. I believe it was Red Alert before he got the Double Dealer power-up. As such, he comes with a Cyber Key accessory. Our final one of this lineup. So that's pretty cool. Also, something I just found out, this entire assembly on the roof actually comes off in one piece. So if you want a clean profile for the alt mode, you can have that. And here we can examine this piece in a little bit more detail. Light bar with accessories, Star Raider symbol, Cybertron key. Pretty cool. Also, Cannonball is just the most improved version of the Skids mold in its robot mode. Complete with accessory storage in the legs, but I've already removed them, so there they are. These videos are just getting fucking worse. Also, that head sculpt is just fucking delightful to look at. It captures all the right tones of that original Red Alert head in just the best ways possible. Talking about accessories, you may notice the Cannonball is missing a hand on this hand. Fantastic commentary. But did you know that in place of that, he has this little nub that can be mounted with accessory pieces? So starting with this one, which is a claw accessory. That's fun. Why not? He can hold his claw dramatically out as he ponders what happened to his hand. But if that's no good, then it's alright, because he's now got a hammer accessory for laying down the fucking law when these guys go plundering. You absolutely love to see it. Cannonball is definitely the best deluxe from this assortment, and he is tied for best of the Star Raiders, in my opinion. Who's he tied with? Well, it's hard to top peak when your competition is Star Raider Ferak in over 60 seconds. Let's go. Probably the most worthy retool of Kingdom Cyclonus we've had today. Sorry, Metal Hawk, but you can fuck. This iteration of the mold doesn't dramatically change anything other than adding intakes to the wings along with mountable weapons on either end, making him look like a Star War, and a new nose cone that now has some sort of intake on the end as opposed to just a point. Beyond that, with Cyclonus, everything else remains the same. He has landing gear that you can retract and extend at will. This back assembly still just looks fucking amazing. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, this is still one of the best releases that we've had of the last 6 years. As a base mold, of course, Ferak is not the base mold. And how does he differ from the base mold beyond these cosmetic changes to his alt mode? A mildly new face sculpt. No, seriously, that's all they said they really changed on this guy in his robot mode. Like, you can see the nose is decidedly more crooked and pointed, but the rest of the head remains the same, so yeah, that's all they've really changed. Yeah, talking about the cosmetic changes, he's just Cyclonus with a new face, new wings, cast in off-white and gunmetal, and it just works really well, I think, at least. So that's what that's worth. I'm not quite sure why he's LARPing as Pennywise the Dancing Cunt, but here we are. Beyond that, truthfully, nothing really changed with this guy. He just looks good in a new coat of paint. And to give full credit to this individual who was kind enough to pitch me an idea on my complaint of Age of the Prime's Heatwave's axe, here is what he described as Deforestation Cyclonus. To be fair, if this man man cooks with his videos like he did in that comment, then I wholeheartedly suggest you go and check him out. Like, honestly, this is just quite a good look for Ferak, and I think you guys can see where I'm coming from when I say this guy is tied for the best of the Star Raiders. When you're already a repaint of one of the best figures we've gotten in the last 6 years, everything else after that's a fucking walk in the park. He just makes a really worthy addition to any collection, honestly. If you're going to go in for only one Star Raider, this or Cannonball. Like, it's between these two as far as peak's concerned. But honestly, having these as a complete lineup is no chore. There's definitely some that I don't like nearly as much as others, and there's definitely some that definitely fumble it a bit more compared to some of the others. But this is just such a unique and wonderful little subgroup to collect. And it's such a one-off instant as well. It's not wreckers where they're kind of a bit evergreen and they come and go as they please. It's not a combiner. It's literally just a bunch of fucking weirdos that travel through space and commit crimes. If that isn't the most peak shit you've never heard of, then we shouldn't be talking. And I have heard people put forward submissions that, like, maybe you could put Skyby in here and have Tidal Wave as the ship, and I get the idea and I like it. But I don't think it's entirely essential to having this as a complete unit. But I think if they're going to decide to ever do a Star Raiders Tidal Wave, I think that's the perfect opportunity to give us the PS2 color Tidal Wave. I think that's the perfect opportunity to give us the PS2 color Tidal Wave. But until that eventual day comes, let's wrap this up. Oh my god, there's so many fucking figures here, I can't get them all into one frame. Ultimately, I think this has been one of my favourite years as far as the exclusive releases of this line has gone. There's a lot of abstract stuff, there's a lot of weird stuff, there's a lot of wonderful stuff, and most of it is good. Most of it is good. Now, I didn't cover every exclusive released under this because I didn't get my hands on every exclusive released under this. Eventually, I'll talk about them in a future video, but ultimately, with this lineup of exclusives, I'm here for it. This fully embraces that weird aesthetic they're going for with Legacy United, and hopefully Age of the Primes after it, where it's let's just mash everything into one big fucking pot and see how it goes. And honestly, you'll love to see it. It's such a wonderful realization of the absolute sandbox that exists within this franchise, and I'm glad they're finally embracing that there are in fact different arms of this franchise to take on and do different things with, and what if this character from this continuity went up against this other character from this place, and it's so fun. I love it. But for now, that'll about do it for me. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, which is probably one of my bigger review videos of all time. And I'll hopefully see you in the next one, where we wrap things up with Wave 5. Goodbye.